The night sky above NASA's Deep Space Communications Complex in California was clear and star-filled. Amanda Miller sat in front of her monitor, reviewing signal data as she had done for the past 5 years. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. Something in the data looked different tonight. The signal repeated every 16 minutes. It wasn't random noise. It wasn't from any known satellite or space debris. It came from somewhere near Alpha Centauri. Amanda's hands trembled as she picked up the phone to call her supervisor. 3 days later, the world's top scientists and military leaders gathered in a secure conference room beneath the Pentagon. President Howard stood before them, his face grave. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have confirmed it. The signal is artificial and of non-human origin. We are not alone." The room erupted into chaos. Amanda sat quietly in the corner, still processing what she had helped discover. She had deciphered enough of the message to know that whoever sent it was coming to Earth. 2 months passed in a blur of activity. Governments around the world prepared for first contact while trying to prevent public panic. The alien ship entered orbit exactly when their message had said they would arrive. The landing site was a flat desert area in neutral territory. World leaders, scientists, and military personnel waited as the sleek silver craft descended silently from the sky. When the ship's doors opened, Amanda held her breath. The beings that emerged looked almost like tall, slender humans, except for their bluish skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. They moved with fluid grace that made even the most athletic humans seem clumsy by comparison. The leader stepped forward. "I am High Diplomat Kelfor of the Araxian species, representing the Galactic Confederation. We greet Earth and welcome you to the interstellar community." His words came through a small device at his throat, translating perfectly into English. Amanda noticed the slight curl at the corner of his mouth, something like a smile, but not quite reaching his eyes. President Howard stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to Earth. We are honored to join the galactic community." The formal greetings continued, but Amanda caught the subtle glances between the aliens. She recognized that look. It was the same look anthropologists gave to newly discovered tribes, academic interest mixed with condescension. At the diplomatic dinner that evening, Kelfor spoke of the Confederation, over 200 species spanning thousands of star systems. "Your species has progressed remarkably fast, considering your limitations," Kelfor said, sipping water with his 3-fingered hand. "Most species take at least another millennium to develop radio technology after achieving industrialization." Major John Carter, appointed as Earth's security liaison, leaned forward. "What limitations would those be, exactly?" Kelfor blinked slowly. "No offense intended, Major. Humans simply have certain emotional impulsivities that most species outgrow before reaching space. Your historical tendency toward conflict is quite unusual." The meeting with the scientific delegation the next day was even more revealing. The aliens shared information about faster-than-light travel, advanced medicine, and clean energy. But whenever humans asked about defensive technology or weapons, the answers became vague. "Such technologies require a certain level of development," explained Zarek, the science officer. "Your species is not quite ready." During a private moment, Amanda approached Kelfor. "Your people seem to know a lot about us." "We have observed Earth for some time," he admitted. "Your internet broadcasts reach quite far into space." "Then you know we can be quick learners," Amanda said. Kelfor's expression softened slightly. "Indeed. Perhaps too quick in some ways. The Confederation has protocols for integrating new species. We move carefully, for everyone's protection." The first week of contact ended with an announcement. Earth would be granted protectorate status within the Confederation. Limited technology would be shared. Cultural exchanges would begin. Trade would be established. As the alien ship prepared to depart, leaving behind a small delegation, Amanda stood beside Major Carter. "They think we're children," Carter muttered. Amanda nodded. "Primitive children with nuclear weapons." Did you notice they never mentioned any conflicts in their history? Carter asked. I did, Amanda replied. Either they're hiding something, or the galaxy is more peaceful than we could imagine. As the ship disappeared into the sky, neither of them realized how wrong that second possibility would prove to be. 5 years had passed since the aliens arrived. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Sleek silver towers of alien design now stood in major cities. Strange flying vehicles zipped through the skies. New medicines cured diseases that had once been death sentences. But Dr. Olivia Bennett felt the price was too high. She stood in her lab at the Joint Species Research Center, watching her alien colleagues take over yet another project she had started. They spoke as if she wasn't there, their translator devices occasionally switching off when they discussed sensitive matters. Dr. Jexnar, I believe my team already solved the radiation shielding problem, Olivia said, trying to keep her voice even. The tall, blue-skinned Araxian turned to her with that familiar look of mild surprise, as if he'd forgotten she could speak. Ah, Dr. Bennett, your solution was promising for primitive technology, but our approach is much more elegant and effective. Olivia bit her tongue. 5 years of this treatment had taught her when to argue and when to stay silent. She gathered her notes and left the lab. Outside, New York had become a tourist destination for wealthy aliens. They strolled through Central Park, taking pictures of humans going about their daily lives. Some even asked humans to pose with them, like animals in a zoo. Near the park entrance, a crowd had gathered. Richard Garcia stood on a small platform, his voice carrying over the heads of the listeners. The former Marine had become the unofficial voice of human dignity in a galaxy that seemed determined to deny it. They call us a protectorate, but what does that really mean? Garcia asked the crowd. It means we're protected, yes, but from what? And at what cost? We've given up our independence, our pride, and for what? To be treated like children by species that won't even share their real history with us. Olivia stopped to listen. 2 Confederation security officers watched from nearby, their expressions unreadable. They've divided us, Garcia continued. Nations fight over alien technology scraps. The rich get alien medicines while the poor die of curable diseases. We're not united anymore. We're competing for alien approval. The crowd murmured in agreement. Olivia had seen the effects firsthand. New economic powers had emerged based solely on their relationships with alien corporations. Old powers struggled to maintain relevance. The gap between rich and poor had widened into a chasm. That evening, Olivia attended a diplomatic reception at the Confederation Embassy. Alien diplomats mingled with Earth's elite. The new Secretary General, William Bailey, laughed too loudly at alien jokes he clearly didn't understand. Kelthor, now the Confederation's High Ambassador to Earth, approached Olivia with a drink in hand. 5 years on Earth had taught him to mimic human customs, though his attempts at smiling still looked forced. Dr. Bennett, your work continues to impress, despite your limitations. Thank you, Ambassador, Olivia replied coolly. Perhaps someday you'll tell me what those limitations actually are. Kelthor's expression changed slightly. You know I respect you, Doctor, more than most of your kind. But there are realities about galactic politics that humans simply aren't ready for. Before Olivia could respond, the reception was interrupted by the arrival of a Confederation military officer. He whispered something to Kelthor, whose blue skin seemed to pale. Later that night, Olivia received a call from Amanda Miller, now a senior diplomat in Earth's Interstellar Relations Department. Something's happening, Amanda said without greeting. Confederation military ships are arriving in orbit, more than we've ever seen. Did they say why? Olivia asked. Only that it's nothing to concern primitives about. But I have contacts on their ships now. They're running from something, Olivia. Something called the Voidborn. Olivia looked out her window at the alien tower glowing in the distance. They said we weren't ready for galactic politics. I think what they meant was we weren't ready for galactic war. Whatever's coming, Amanda said quietly. I don't think they're ready for it either. As if on cue, Olivia's phone lit up with a message from Dr. Jexnar. Urgentmeetang. All seen in your scientists. War barifying. The patronizing partnership was about to change. 10 years after first contact, the truth could no longer be hidden. The war with the Voidborn was real, and it was getting closer to Earth. Dr. Olivia Bennett stood on the observation deck of the lunar base, watching as yet another damaged Confederation ship limped into orbit. This was the 5th one this month. Each ship carried the same scars, strange black burn marks that seemed to eat through even the strongest alien metals. They told us it was just a small conflict, said Lieutenant Commander Sam Lewis, who had joined her at the window. The naval engineer had been assigned to study the damaged ships, officially to assist with repairs, but really to learn whatever he could. Small. Olivia shook her head. I've seen their star maps. The Voidborn have taken 47 systems in the last year alone. Sam nodded grimly. And they're moving in our direction. Back on Earth, Olivia met with Amanda Miller and Richard Garcia in a secure room beneath the Pentagon. The former resistance leader had been brought into the government when the threat became too great to ignore. Even Earth's leaders had finally realized they needed people who didn't trust the aliens. Show them what you found, Amanda said to Olivia. Olivia placed a small device on the table. It projected a holographic map of the galaxy with red areas showing Voidborn-controlled space. This is what the Confederation admits to, she said, then pressed a button. The red area doubled in size. And this is the truth, based on communications I've intercepted. Richard cursed under his breath. They're losing the war. And hiding it from us, Amanda added. But why? Asked an older man at the end of the table, General Warren, the new head of Earth's unified defense forces. Because they're afraid we'll panic, Olivia said. Or because they still think we're too primitive to help. At that moment, Sam Lewis burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. You need to see this, he said, connecting his tablet to the projection system. A hologram changed to show technical schematics of alien ship engines and weapons systems. I've been studying their technology, Sam explained. They're brilliant, but they think in straight lines. Their solutions are elegant but predictable. He zoomed in on an engine design. Look here, they've been using the same power distribution system for centuries. But if you reconfigure it like this, his fingers moved rapidly over the controls, shifting components around. You get 30% more output with half the energy signature. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You improved their design, General Warren asked. Sam nodded. And not just this. Their weapons targeting, their shield harmonics. They're all based on mathematical constants that haven't been updated in generations. Because they haven't needed to innovate, Olivia realized. Until now. The next day, a Confederation emergency alert sounded across all channels. An outpost just 20 light-years from Earth had gone silent. The Voidborn had breached the defensive line the aliens had promised would hold. In the Confederation embassy, chaos reigned. Alien diplomats rushed to pack their belongings. Kelthor stood in his office, staring at reports coming in from the front lines. When Amanda Miller entered without knocking, he didn't even look up. You lied to us, she said simply. Kelthor's shoulders sagged. We thought we could contain it. You thought wrong. And now Earth is in danger. My people are recalling all military assets to defend our core worlds, Kelthor said quietly, including those stationed in your solar system. Amanda stared at him in disbelief. You're abandoning us, after keeping us technologically dependent for a decade. For the first time, Kelthor looked ashamed. The Confederation Council voted. Earth is expendable. As Amanda stormed out, her phone beeped with a message from Olivia. Sam's engine modifications work. The prototype just outperformed every Confederation ship in the fleet. Amanda smiled grimly. Perhaps humanity wasn't as primitive as the aliens thought. And perhaps it was time the galaxy learned that. The underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains hummed with activity. Once it had been a missile silo. Now it housed Earth's greatest secret, the United Earth Defense Initiative. Secretary General Paul Winters walked through the massive hangar, his footsteps echoing on the metal walkway. Below him, hundreds of workers swarmed around the massive hull of a ship unlike any Earth had built before. "Will she fly?" he asked Sam Lewis, now Admiral of Earth's new space fleet. "Better than fly," Sam said, pride evident in his voice. "The UEA's Defiant will outrun and outfight anything the Confederation has, and hopefully anything the Voidborn have too." Paul nodded, impressed despite the weight on his shoulders. After the Confederation had announced their withdrawal, Earth's nations had finally united. Old enemies became allies. Resources previously spent on fighting each other were redirected to the stars. "And the other ships?" "6 more nearing completion," Sam replied. "All built using the knowledge we borrowed from our friends." Paul almost smiled at the euphemism. For 10 years, humans had studied, copied, and improved upon alien technology, often in direct violation of Confederation treaties. What had started as small-scale reverse engineering had become a full-scale military buildup. "Captain Washington has arrived," an aide announced, interrupting Paul's thoughts. Eliza Washington strode onto the walkway. Her uniform was new, but her eyes held the experience of 20 years in the Navy. Now she would command not a vessel on Earth's oceans, but humanity's first true warship in space. "Mr. Secretary," she said, saluting. "The crew is assembled and ready for inspection." In another part of the facility, Dr. Olivia Bennett and her team worked around the clock on defensive systems. Richard Garcia, now a colonel, trained Earth's first space marines in combat techniques against an enemy few had ever seen. The work proceeded in secret for months, until a Confederation scout ship detected unusual energy signatures from Earth's vicinity. Ambassador Kelthor, one of the few aliens who had chosen to remain on Earth, was summoned to an emergency meeting. "This is a direct violation of our agreements," Kelthor said, his voice tight with anger as he looked at images of Earth's new fleet. "You were granted limited technology for peaceful purposes only." "Those agreements became void when you abandoned us," Paul replied calmly. "Earth will defend itself, with or without Confederation approval." Kelthor's large eyes narrowed. "These ships, these weapons, you cannot hope to master such technology in time. The Voidborn are nothing like any enemy you have faced." "Perhaps," Paul said, "but humans are nothing like any allies you have had either." The meeting ended with Kelthor sending an urgent message to his superiors. But the Confederation was too busy fighting for its own survival to worry about a primitive planet's futile defense attempts. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected the first Voidborn scout ships entering the solar system. They moved like shadows between the planets, their black hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Captain Washington received the alert. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered, her voice steady. "Launch fighters and prepare main weapons." As Earth's ships moved to intercept the invaders, Admiral Lewis joined Paul Winters in the command center. "We're really doing this," Paul said quietly. "Fighting an enemy from the stars." Sam nodded. "The Confederation thinks we're too primitive to stand a chance. The Voidborn don't know we exist. Both are about to be surprised." On screens around the world, people watched as humanity's first space battle began. Schools, offices, and homes fell silent. For the first time in history, all of Earth held its breath together. In orbit around Jupiter, Captain Washington gave the order that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. "All ships, engage the enemy. Show them what Earth can do." The battle for Mars lasted 7 terrible days. The red planet's small colonies, built over the last decade with a mix of human drive and alien technology, became the front line in humanity's first interstellar war. Captain Eliza Washington watched from the bridge of the UES Defiant as Voidborn ships swarmed around the Martian orbit. Their black hulls seemed to drink in the light, making them hard to track on sensors. But humans had been fighting wars since before they could write. They knew how to adapt. They're moving in the same patterns again, Eliza noted, studying the enemy formations. Third attack run looks just like the first two. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Frank Diaz, nodded. They don't change tactics, even when they don't work. Then let's use that, Eliza said. She opened a channel to the other ships in her battle group. All vessels, implement Battle Plan Delta. They expect us to retreat after their third push. Instead, we're going straight at them. On Earth, in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Lewis and Colonel Garcia watched the battle unfold on massive screens. The human ships were outnumbered 3-1, but they moved with a coordination that surprised even their commanders. They're actually doing it, Garcia said as the Earth ships broke formation and attacked from multiple angles simultaneously. The Voidborn ships, used to fighting the rigid battle lines of Confederation forces, seemed confused by the unpredictable movements. Humans have been killing each other for thousands of years, Lewis replied grimly. We've gotten very good at it. The Martian colonies still suffered heavy damage. Hundreds of colonists died before evacuation ships could reach them. But the Voidborn paid a heavier price. By the seventh day, nearly half their attack force had been destroyed or disabled. In the lunar research base, Dr. Olivia Bennett and her team worked tirelessly to understand the enemy. They had captured a damaged Voidborn ship and were studying its technology and the remains of its crew. It's like nothing I've ever seen, Olivia said, examining tissue samples under a microscope. Their nervous systems are interconnected somehow. They function almost like a single organism spread across multiple bodies. Her assistant, Dr. Kevin Zhao, looked up from his computer. That would explain their communication patterns. I've been analyzing their signals. They're not sending tactical data. They're sharing sensory information, emotions, even memories. Olivia straightened up, her mind racing. They're not just working together. They're thinking together, a hive mind. Which means, Kevin said slowly, if we disrupt their connection. They can't coordinate their attacks, Olivia finished. The discovery led to a breakthrough. Kevin, a brilliant but eccentric computer scientist, developed a virus that could interfere with the Voidborn neural network. It couldn't break their connection completely, but it could introduce enough noise to confuse them. As the battle for Mars ended, a new conflict erupted near Jupiter's moons. The massive gas giants' colonies were smaller than Mars, but strategically vital. The Voidborn attacked with a larger force, confident in their eventual victory. They didn't expect Captain Washington to arrive with a new weapon. Deploy the disruptor boys, she ordered as the UES Defiant entered the battle. Small devices launched from the ship, each broadcasting Kevin's virus on frequencies that matched the Voidborn neural patterns. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Enemy ships began to move erratically, some crashing into each other. Their coordinated attack patterns fell apart into chaos. From a safe distance, a Confederation observation vessel watched in shock. The captain, an Araxian like Kel-Thor, could hardly believe what he was seeing. Impossible, he whispered. The primitives are winning. His science officer shook his head in wonder. How could they develop neural disruption technology so quickly? We've studied the Voidborn for decades without such a breakthrough. The captain had no answer, but as he watched the human ships press their advantage, driving the confused Voidborn back, he reached for his communication panel. The Confederation needed to know. The primitives weren't so primitive after all. 6 months into the war, Earth had not only survived but begun to push back. The solar system's outer regions had been cleared of Voidborn forces. Mars was being rebuilt. The Jupiter and Saturn colonies had become forward bases for human counterattacks. Admiral Eliza Washington, promoted after her victories, stood on the bridge of the upgraded UES Defiant. Her ship now led a fleet of 30 vessels, all built using the knowledge humans had gained during their protectorate years, enhanced with their own innovations. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission, her communications officer reported. It's from a Confederation diplomatic vessel requesting permission to enter Earth space. Eliza raised an eyebrow. After 6 months of silence, they suddenly want to talk. Put them through. The view screen activated to show Kelfor. The Araxian looked tired, his blue skin paler than Eliza remembered. "Admiral Washington," he said, inclining his head slightly. "I bring a message from the Confederation High Council." "We're listening," Eliza replied coolly. "The Council has reconsidered Earth's status. We would like to offer a formal alliance against the Voidborn threat." In the war room on Earth, Secretary General Winters received the news with skepticism. Around the table sat the leaders of Earth's defense: Admiral Lewis, Colonel Garcia, Dr. Bennett, and representatives from major nations. "Why now?" Garcia asked bluntly. "They abandoned us to die." "Because we didn't die," Lewis answered. "We fought back and won. Now they're interested again." Dr. Bennett pulled up data on her tablet. "According to our intelligence, the Voidborn have pushed deep into Confederation space. 17 core worlds have fallen in the last month alone. They need us," Winters realized. "After all their talk about primitives, they need our help." The decision wasn't easy. Many wanted to reject the aliens who had looked down on humanity for so long. But Earth's leaders understood that survival might depend on cooperation. When Kelfor's ship landed at the new Interstellar Defense Headquarters in Geneva, he was greeted by armed guards and cool stares. The reception hall, once filled with art and comfortable furniture, now displayed maps of battle zones and weapon prototypes. "You've changed," Kelfor said to Secretary General Winters as they walked toward the conference room. "War changes everyone," Winters replied, "even primitives." For the first time, Kelfor looked genuinely ashamed. "That was a mistake. We underestimated your species in every possible way." Inside the conference room, Dr. Bennett presented humanity's latest research on voidborn weaknesses. Colonel Garcia detailed battle strategies that had proven effective. Admiral Lewis explained modifications to ship designs that increased their effectiveness against enemy weapons. The Confederation representatives listened with growing amazement. What had taken their scientists decades to discover, humans had learned in months. "How is this possible?" asked Zarek, the science officer who had once dismissed Olivia as primitive. "Your technology was centuries behind ours when we met." "That was our advantage," Olivia explained. "We weren't set in our ways. We didn't have centuries of doing things one way. We could look at problems with fresh eyes. And we've had plenty of practice fighting wars," Garcia added. "It's not something we're proud of, but it made us good at adapting." The meeting ended with a new treaty. Not a protectorate agreement, but a true alliance between equals. Several Confederation species that had been impressed by Earth's resistance pledged their support directly. As Kelfor prepared to leave, he stopped before Secretary General Winters. "There is something you should know," he said quietly. "The Battle of Titan. When your forces defeated a Voidborn fleet 3 times your size, news of it has spread across the galaxy. Many worlds that had surrendered to the Voidborn are now resisting again." "Why?" Winters asked. "Because," Kelfor said, "if the primitives could do it, so can they." As the alien ship departed, Admiral Washington received new orders. Prepare the fleet for offensive operations beyond the solar system. The time had come to take the fight to the enemy. The war room of the Allied Defense Coalition hummed with activity. Representatives from 27 species gathered around a massive holographic display showing the Voidborn home system. At the center of the room stood Admiral Washington, General Garcia, and Dr. Bennett, Earth's delegation to the coalition leadership. "It's suicide," said Commander Vaxlur of the Palladian fleet. The insect-like aliens' mandibles clicked with agitation. "No force has ever penetrated their home defenses. No force has ever tried our approach," Garcia replied calmly. "The Voidborn expect direct assaults because that's all they've ever faced." Admiral Washington pointed to a small moon orbiting the 4th planet. "Our intelligence shows their central consciousness is located here. It coordinates their entire hive mind across the galaxy. If we can reach it, Dr. Bennett added, we can upload an advanced version of our neural disruptor, not just to confuse them temporarily, but to fundamentally alter their connection. To make peace, asked Kelfor, who now served as the Coalition's diplomatic officer. Bennett nodded. The Voidborn weren't always hostile. Our research suggests they evolved as a collective mind to survive on a resource-poor world. They turned to conquest only when their system could no longer support them. The plan was daring. While the main fleet engaged the Voidborn defenses, a smaller, faster ship would slip through to reach the central node. The UEA's Intrepid, Earth's newest stealth vessel, would carry a Special Forces team led by Colonel Lisa Chen, Garcia's most trusted officer. As the Coalition forces prepared, Dr. Kevin Zhao worked day and night to perfect his neural virus. It needs to disrupt without destroying, he explained to Lisa Chen as they tested the device. If we simply kill their central mind, the individual Voidborn will go mad. If we modify it correctly, we can change their basic imperatives from conquest to cooperation. Lisa studied the young scientist. You're not just trying to win the war, you're trying to save them too. Kevin shrugged. Isn't that more human than simple extermination? The night before the mission launched, Admiral Washington found Garcia staring at the star map in his quarters. Worried? She asked. Thinking, he replied, about how far we've come. 10 years ago, aliens arrived and called us primitives. Now we're leading a coalition to save the galaxy. Using the same traits they looked down on, Washington noted. Our adaptability, our creativity, our stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The next day, the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy's history jumped into the Voidborn home system. Over 2,000 ships from 34 species engaged the enemy in a battle that stretched across an entire solar system. As planned, the massive assault drew the Voidborn's attention. Their ships swarmed toward the invaders, leaving gaps in their defensive network. Through one such gap slipped the UES Intrepid, its revolutionary stealth systems, making it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. Colonel Chen and her team of 12 Special Forces soldiers landed on the barren moon housing the central node. They fought their way through Voidborn guards, black, multi-limbed creatures connected by pulsing organic cables to the central structure. Their physical forms are just extensions of the central mind, Dr. Bennett explained through their comms. Stay focused on the mission. In orbit above, the Intrepid held position, ready for extraction. Captain Alan Foster watched the battle raging across the system. Coalition ships in Sector 7 need support, his tactical officer reported. We hold position, Foster replied firmly. Our mission is extraction, not combat. Inside the central node, Chen and her team reached the core chamber, a massive organic computer pulsing with dark energy. Kevin's instructions guided them as they connected their device to its neural pathways. Upload commencing, Chen reported. 60 seconds to completion. Throughout the system, Voidborn ships suddenly slowed their attacks. Some began to drift aimlessly. Others turned away from the Coalition fleet. It's working, Washington breathed as she watched from her flagship. The upload completed just as Voidborn reinforcements stormed the chamber. Chen ordered her team to fall back to the extraction point. Mission accomplished, she reported through bursts of weapons fire. The fate of the galaxy now depends on a computer virus written by a guy who drinks too much coffee. 1 year after the mission to the Voidborn central node, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The massive Voidborn fleets no longer attacked worlds. Instead, they helped rebuild what they had destroyed. Their organic technology, once used for weapons, now terraformed barren planets and healed ecological damage. On Earth, Admiral Washington stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Council headquarters in Geneva. The massive structure combined architectural styles from dozens of species, with humanity's design at its core. Still hard to believe, said Kelfor, now the Araxian representative to the Council. When we first met, we thought your people would need centuries to join galactic society as equals. Instead, we saved it, Washington replied with a small smile. Below them, delegates from over 200 worlds gathered for the treaty signing. The new Galactic Alliance would replace the old Confederation, with all species given equal voice regardless of their technological development. In a laboratory nearby, Dr. Olivia Bennett and Kevin Zhao worked alongside scientists from 30 different species, including reformed Voidborn. Their consciousness, once bent on conquest, now focused on collaboration. Their unique hive mind approach to problem solving, combined with individual species' creativity, was solving problems thought impossible just years earlier. The neural recoding worked better than we hoped, Kevin said, watching a Voidborn researcher delicately manipulate an experiment with 4 limbs moving in perfect coordination. They've retained their collective consciousness but gained individual ethics. Because we didn't try to make them human, Olivia replied. We just removed the imperatives for conquest and replaced them with cooperation. The rest they figured out themselves. In orbit above Earth, the UES Unity prepared for its maiden voyage. The massive exploration vessel represented the pinnacle of combined galactic technology and human innovation. Its mission, to explore beyond known space and make peaceful contact with new civilizations. Captain Amanda Miller, who had been the first human to decode the alien transmission 15 years earlier, now stood on its bridge. The linguistics expert had become one of Earth's most experienced space commanders through the war years. Ready for departure, Captain, reported her first officer, a young Araxian named Jalcor. Take us out, nice and easy, Amanda ordered. We've got a lot of dignitaries watching, and I promised the Admiral we wouldn't scratch the paint on day one. The ship's crew represented 28 species working seamlessly together. What had once seemed impossible, aliens and humans as equals, was now reality. In the council chamber, Secretary General Winters addressed the assembled delegates as the final treaty was signed. 15 years ago, we were considered primitives, he said. Too emotional, too unpredictable, too violent for the sophisticated galaxy. Today, we understand that those very traits, properly channeled, were exactly what was needed. Our adaptability, our creativity, our willingness to try the impossible, and yes, even our capacity for warfare when necessary. He gestured to General Garcia, who stood at attention in his formal uniform. But most importantly, Winters continued, our capacity for peace. When victory was within our grasp, we chose not to destroy our enemy, but to help them change. Not every species would have made that choice. As the UES Unity cleared Earth orbit and prepared for its first jump to distant stars, Amanda Miller looked at the view screen showing their home planet growing smaller. Where to now, Captain? Asked Jalcor. Amanda smiled. Everywhere we haven't been yet. The Confederation never ventured more than 10,000 light years from their core systems. Too risky, they said. Too many unknowns. And that's exactly why we're going, the Araxian said, beginning to understand. Exactly, Amanda replied. The galaxy called us primitives because we asked questions they thought they had already answered. Because we took risks they thought too dangerous. Because we changed when they had stayed the same for millennia. She gave the order, and the Unity jumped to faster than light speed, venturing where no Confederation ship had ever dared to go. Behind them, Earth continued its transformation into the heart of a new galactic age. Not bad for primitives who, just 15 years earlier, had been staring up at the stars and wondering if they were truly alone.